Good morning, South Beach. Welcome to podcast number 5. Today we have someone special with us. We have Nina Spencer, Ma Spencer, filling in for her son, Coach Dino, who's out training one of the fighters and couldn't make it today. And we have Christian Thun, a.k.a. the Hurricane. And one of the reasons he's a Hurricane is because he's 6'9". What are you weighing about now?
269.
269, let's say 270. And he's like a hurricane when he gets in the ring. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Christian's been training here for a while. He's 7-0 right now.
Yeah.
7-0. He's undefeated. And he's ready to move up. He's a heavyweight, obviously. And so welcome to the program, Christian.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
So his background is you were born in Germany. You lived in Italy. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I was born in Germany on a cloudy Tuesday on February 24th of 1992.
This isn't a novel, but go ahead.
Exactly. I was trying to make a proper introduction, but anyhow.
I'm just kidding. It's like one of those love novels, Fabio.
Exactly. And yes, my father is German, my mother is Italian. I then moved when I was 5 years old to Italy, to a lovely, charming, romantic town in the northeast of Italy called Vicenza. And I stayed there for about 9 years, and I then moved to London, where I essentially spent my teens. I moved to London when I was 12 or 13, and I stayed there until my early 20s, plus minus.
And then when did you start boxing?
I started boxing when I was 15 years old, and I started boxing actually in London at the world famous Peacock Boxing Club. It was, it still is a great gym. Unfortunately, though, they're shutting it down, or rather they're moving it. It used to be like a center of the community, really. It was like something like the Fifth Street Gym, just in London, and actually not in a nice part of London like Mayfair, but more like in a rough part of London, in Canning Town to be precise, where a lot of crime and, funny enough, the Crate twins, the notorious Crate twins came from. And they were like a social hotspot in a good way for the community there. And the first time I walked into the gym, I saw, like all those like posters of old fights and fighters that had been there. And I had my first boxing session there and then. And I said, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is what I will do.
And then what was your amateur career like?
My amateur career was, a lot of fun, actually. I had the luck to be fighting in England as an amateur. And in England, amateur fights are just crazy. I remember we used to fight in the working man's pub in West Ham, exactly, in West Ham. And as you know, West Ham is a notorious football or soccer club in England with, a lot of, hooliganism, etc. And we used to fight in their home pub, so you can imagine what kind of events those were. It was absolutely ludicrous. So we had really.
Actually, Ludacris was here the other day.
Right, exactly. I actually just thought about it when I was saying it. So, I really had a lot of fun. I've also boxed in Germany, I've also boxed in Italy, but the fights there were in sports halls, you still had the basketball, whatever you call it, hanging there. It just never had that charming atmosphere. Whereas, as I said, in England, we used to fight there, and it was like
you imagine those fights to be like just crazy,
loud and crazy and emotional, and most of the kids that actually fought back then, they had a traveler's background, so they were gypsies, as they say, and they used to come with huge families of 50 cousins, and you cannot really control.
Were they Italian or were they Greek? 50 cousins.
Yeah, they exactly. They were probably something mixed. But anyhow, it was just really, really legendary to fight in the UK as an amateur.
And then, how many amateur fights did you have?
I've had 49 fights with 43 wins and 6 losses.
6 losses, okay. And then you've turned pro. You've been pro now. You just got out of camp with Anthony Joshua. Are you allowed to talk about that? What it was like training with Anthony?
Yes.
Champ?
It was really great, to say the least. He was, of course. Well, first of all, let me say something. He truly is a class act, and so are all of his team members, managers, drivers, assistants, trainers. They are all truly a class act. And I was there for about 2 weeks, and I had a great time learning really and just observing what a champ does. And I can truly say that he's working really hard, and he just really has an extra gear compared to all other people at camps that I've been to. He trains really hard. He's also a very intelligent individual, making him able to learn a lot faster than say other people would. And he's like a sponge, so he can absorb information and learning really good. On the other hand, those are the techniques, those are the attributes that you need to be a champion. So it was overall a great experience, which I was very thankful to have at this early stage of my career. As a matter of fact, I'm flying back to camp to London tomorrow. I'm gonna be 2 weeks with Joshua again, sparring with him, and training. And it's once again it's a blessing to be able to do so.
So, I have you here, Ma. What do you think between if Joshua and Fury fight? How do you see that fight going? What do you think?
Let
me ask her real quick to get her take on it. I'm going to come back to you.
I would go with Fury.
You would go with Fury.
Yeah.
Why? Just knowledge.
I think he's a great fighter. So that's why I would go with Fury.
Fury. What about you, Christian?
I think I could hold a symposium.
I know you're in camp with him, so it's hard for you to really make that. But Fury was here about a month ago.
Right.
You saw his size. You got to meet him. You know the heavyweights probably since you've been in there with a lot of them.
Right.
And obviously, you can't say Fury. But how do you think the fight's going to go? Not necessarily making a prediction, but
So.
What does AJ have to do, you think, to defeat Fury?
Yeah, I could really hold a symposium of like 2 weeks about this particular fight. Not only because both of them are, I would say, my somewhat favorite fighters, but even rivals, but also favorite fighters which I truly do look up to. I believe it's really a coin toss. We've got AJ. I know he's an extremely powerful individual, and Tyson Fury as well, believe it or not. And one side of me could be like, okay, Tyson Fury has the potential to just outbox him for 12 rounds, but so on the other hand, AJ could blast him out in the first round as well. On the other hand, if we reverse the kind of thing, we could also say that AJ also has the potential to outbox Tyson Fury for 12 rounds, because we've seen Tyson Fury look pretty shit in some fights, and then we've seen Tyson Fury look marvelous in other fights. So it's just truly it's a coin toss. We have to see who turns up at the night. Is the Gypsy King gonna show up, or is the Tyson Fury gonna show up that we've seen against Otto Wallin? Is the AJ gonna show up that likes to box like in the Andy Ruiz rematch, or is the AJ gonna show up that likes to just like unload like he did in many of his other fights? There are just so many variables in this fight, and I think that it's a coin toss. It truly is.
Also, do you think they're the two best heavyweights out there right now?
Yeah, absolutely, by far.
And then, do you think Wilder comes back? I forgot. Did you ever spar with Deontay?
Yeah.
You have, right?
Of course, yeah. Yes. I spar with Wilder as well. And yes, I know the next question is, can he really bang that hard? Yes, he absolutely can. He actually, the first right hand he caught me with, he cut my eye open. It was like 10 days before my third professional fight. And the second punch he threw, he broke his own hand on my elbow, for fuck's sake. So as you can imagine, there is some sort of sting behind that right hand. Yeah, I mean, he really can punch. He's a puncher, and he's actually very fast as well. People don't really think about that. He's really, really fast, because, I mean, he's like ultra light actually for being a heavyweight. And on the other hand, what he does like
about his
boxing
weight.
skills.
Do you think he'll go down to the new Bridgerweight division? You think he'll stay up at heavyweight?
To be honest, I don't think so. I mean, he could go down to Bridgerweight, but I don't think he will, because I think that he truly wants to prove.
He doesn't have to go down. He's at that weight anyway.
Exactly.
I don't think has he ever fought over 240?
No. But I just think, but even I think he actually walks around like probably 225.
Right.
And probably fights at he has to put on weight to fucking fight. No, but what I think that he really has to. He wants to prove himself in heavyweight division. So now there are talks that he should be fighting Charles Martin next, which I think he should be able to take care of. But to be honest, I mean, he always has a puncher's chance. But trust me, so does Tyson Fury and so does Anthony Joshua, and both of them can actually box better. So I would always lean towards them rather than Bronze Bomber.
Taking that away, the top 3 or 4 or 5, let's talk about like up and coming guys like yourself. And who do you see out there right now that's new? I haven't followed the heavyweights since lately. I mean, I know the major guys, but I haven't followed them as well as I used to when I was actually managing and training one. But where do you see the heavyweights up and coming? Where's it going to go? Like gold medalists and people like
to be honest,
you.
I mean, there are quite a few. I mean, there are actually a lot of good heavyweights coming up right now, and the heavyweight division now is like unbelievably packed with not only talent but also really exciting prospects, which will fight against. We will all kind of fight against each other in the next 1 to 3 years, I believe, and so create even more excitement in this already hot division. The one fighter that I really do believe is gonna be able to really be extremely successful in heavyweight divisions is actually Joe Joyce. I know this because I've actually fought him in amateurs, funny enough, in the London ABA final, which was a crazy event back then. It's like the national kind of tournament, and whoever wins the London final is actually set to go and usually wins the whole tournament, because out of London the best fighters come. So it is the regional final, but per se it is the national final because the best fighters come out of London. I fought him there in the final, and I remember I used to hit him with like big shots back then. I was younger, it was probably 2013, so I was about 28. No, I'm 27 minus 7 equals 20. Should be right. Should we double check?
Not bad for a boxer.
Exactly. So I was 20 years old. I think he was 27 then. So he's like 6, 7, 8 years older than me. So he was physically stronger and whatever. But I never felt somebody that could really just walk through punches like that. And I think that we've seen in his last fight against Triple D, Daniel Dynamite Dubois, that he took his best shots and kind of shook him off and didn't even look bothered or fazed by them. Daniel Dubois can't bang because I've sparred him as well. As a matter of fact, he fights out of the Pico Boxing Club, the gym that I started with. So I know his coaches, I know him, I know all that crop of people, very good people actually, but he can bang, that's what I know. And he just walked through his shots and he just jabbed and boxed smart. He's very experienced as well. To be honest, he should have won the Olympics in Rio. He got robbed against Tony Yoka. They just couldn't have 2 years in a row British guys win the Olympics, so they just had to give it to the Frenchman. But he's probably the hottest prospect for me.
Okay, so he's a little bit further than you along, but let's just say he gets up there, you get up there, you just basically made a point of a guy who's dangerous. How do you counter a guy like that when you have to fight him? What do you do? What do we do? How do we train for that? How do you train for that? To get a guy who can walk, like you said, he can still walk through. He could take a punch. He's strong. I know what I would do, but how would you view it as a fighter?
So I would not try to knock him out at any time in a fight. I would just say, frustrate him as much as you can, and just box your way through the rounds and try to nick the rounds and hope for him to get even more frustrated towards later rounds where perhaps you could capitalize on him getting sloppy or getting angered by coming with bigger punches and then maybe landing some serious leather. But I believe that that's the type of guy that if you go out there and try to blast him out, you will probably not be able to do so, and you're just gonna gas, and then you're gonna he's gonna just completely steamroll over you.
Got you. So where do you see yourself going now? Like what's the next step for you? Where do we go from here? What do you want to do? I mean, you're 6-0, but you want to be fighting for the championship. I know you. How do you stay patient so you don't walk into a fight that maybe you don't want to walk into because you're a little too aggressive and too
not
too
experienced,
confident? Yeah.
Right. Yes, that's actually a really good question. So I used to be signed up until last week to this German promotional company called Universum Boxing, and we now have bought ourselves out of that contract to seek better options here in America. My dream was always to be fighting in America, to be honest. This was what I really wanted. I didn't really care about belts. I wanted to be a big entertainer in America. And this was really what I want to do. So I want to be fighting in America. I want to build up my fan base here in America. I want to just step by step, gradually increase my opponents and fight somebody good. I'm ready. I'm experienced now. We are sparring pretty much 10 rounds every single time we spar. I know I'm ready for bigger challenges, basically. And the better the opponent, the better I actually perform. I believe that I'm ready to fight in bigger fights. I want to fight now, like, of course, ideally I'd like to fight Joshua at Wembley in front of 100,000 people for like 8 digits, but that's not how boxing works. So I'd like to now slowly, climb up the ladder and fight some better opponents. I know that I'm ready for this. There are many guys out there which I'd like to fight. I don't want to really call out too many names as of now, but soon we shall. Yeah. So we're ready for whatever comes. I just want to truly, for me, I don't care about beating people. I just want to entertain. I want boxing to return to my home country of Germany and of Italy. I want to just bring boxing back. And I might not be the best technician. I might not be the biggest punch. I might not be the prettiest, the sexiest. I'm just somebody who loves. I don't know. I just love to entertain. It's what I love to do. That's the only thing that I really care about. When I fight, I want to entertain. That's all I care about.
So, I wish we had more time with the Hurricane Christian here. Dino should be back for the next podcast. Thank you, Ma, for filling in.
You're welcome.
Christian did do a lot of the work for us today. And we will have him back soon. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next podcast, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I am the greatest.